Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Day one of Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States. Meetings with top CEOs currently on. A warm welcome also from the Indian diaspora as Prime Minister Modi arrives in Washington. Prime Minister Modi and President Joe Biden's first one-on-one meeting tomorrow. The Sensex up by almost 1,000 points today at a new record high. The 60,000 peak isn't far for the Sensex now. The Nifty also at a new high. The surge led by a US Fed decision from 50,000 to 60,000 in just 9 months for the Sensex. The top court to set up a panel to probe Pegasus hacking. The Chief Justice says he will give the order on the probe panel next week, saying some people we approached for the panel declined for personal reasons. Students' fears come true. The big NEET scam from a Nagpur coaching centre. Proxy candidates were used according to the CBI, which busts an interstate NEET proxy candidate scam. Rich students pay for proxies. What about others? The Maha horror, a Thane teen raped by 29 men in 9 months. The 15-year-old girl's boyfriend blackmails her with a video. Other friends of this man then rape her over 9 months. The girl finally complains to the police. Well, Bhangra beats by the new Punjab Chief Minister, but serious business at hand as he flies into Delhi to finalize a new cabinet. Meanwhile, the Congress's retort to ex-Chief Minister Narendra Singh, you get angry when you are elderly. And 2 stars on the badminton court. That's a great pair we see smashing away. Well, our lead story tonight, Prime Minister Modi's United States visit has begun with him meeting top global CEOs. He also has a full lineup of meetings scheduled later today and tomorrow morning, including a bilateral meeting with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. That's at 11 o'clock tonight. Then a bilateral meeting with Kamala Harris, Vice President. That, of course, is a special meeting because Kamala Harris's mother was Indian. And then a bilateral meeting with the Japan Prime Minister and also the Prime Minister Modi and President Joe Biden meeting tomorrow. He's currently meeting with global CEOs. He'll also have an in-person Quad meeting with the heads of state, a meeting which is likely to send a strong message to China. So the Prime Minister currently met with the head of Qualcomm, and they, according to the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, this is a meeting where the flag of India will fly high on innovations, and they talked really about how Qualcomm could invest in India and our new policies of production-linked incentives as well. Earlier, the Prime Minister arrived in Washington to a warm welcome by the Indian diaspora.
The Prime Minister being received by senior officials of the Biden administration and India's envoy to the US in Washington, as well as Indian Americans. On arrival, he called for mutual recognition of vaccine certificates, a touchy subject between developing countries and the West. He will have a bilateral meeting with US Vice President Kamala Harris ahead of one with President Biden, highlighting India's strategic concerns and economic opportunities. Ahead of his meeting, the White House ruled out India or Japan being included in the new security grouping AUKUS, with only Australia, the UK and the United States.
Would it become JAUKUS? The announcement of AUKUS last week was not meant to be an indication, and I think this is a message the President also sent to to Macron, that there's no one else who will be involved in security in the Indo-Pacific.
The Prime Minister held one-on-one meetings with 5 American CEOs, 2 of them Indian Americans, Shantanu Narayen from Adobe and Vivek Lall from General Atomics. The 3 others being from Qualcomm, First Solar and Blackstone. Their businesses reflecting India's priorities from state-of-the-art military drones to 5G and solar power. Though the US has reassured India that the AUKUS military pact is not likely to detract from the Quad or bilateral cooperation, concerns have risen in India that the strategic dimension of the Quad engagement can get diluted if Washington begins to privilege AUKUS and other such arrangements. Day 2 of the Prime Minister's visit should bring us some clarity on how these dynamics will materialize. Parmeshwar Bava, NDTV.
Well, the other big headline, the Sensex and the Nifty shot up to record highs, then closed at that this evening. This on the back of strong global cues after the US Federal Bank signaled that tapering could start earlier than market expectations and kept interest rates near record lows. The Sensex rose as much as 1,030 points at one time to hit a record high of 59,957 within striking distance from the 60,000 mark. The Nifty 50 index also closed above its important psychological level of 17,800 for the first time, led by gains in banking, financial services and oil and gas shares. So let's just look at how the Sensex has scaled almost Mount 60,000, up 25% this year alone, rising sharply from about 47,800 on January the 1st. Most of that surge came from about when it was 54,000 onwards, and it has happened in the last 7 to 8 weeks after the post-lockdown, signs of green shoots of the economy, and of course, global cues as well. And among this, yet another great response for an IPO, this time of Freshworks, which sold 28.5 million shares for $36 each after marketing them for $32 to $34, a target that the company had actually risen. Freshworks Incorporated rose 32% after raising $1 billion in initial public offering. You can see there, in fact, the IPO head even had Rajnikant congratulating him, superstar Rajnikant congratulating him before we see that launch at NASDAQ in New York, trading closing at $47.55, giving it a market value of $13 billion. Other lead story tonight, well, the Supreme Court has said that it will order a probe panel into allegations of Pegasus hacking. The Chief Justice said a final order will be given next week. When the Supreme Court actually puts together that panel, he said some people had declined for personal reasons.
10 days ago, in its hearing on the Pegasus spyware scandal, the Supreme Court had repeatedly pressed the government to file an affidavit explaining whether a government agency had authorized the use of Pegasus for interception. The government had refused, citing security reasons, and had said it is offering to set up a committee to probe the issue.
Now there will be a committee, but set up by the court, not the government. The Chief Justice of India has said, "We wanted to pass an order before this week. Some members we considered declined to be part of the panel. There is a delay in orders as some members declined for personal reasons. We will try to pass an order next week." The court's decision comes on the basis of a petition filed by senior editors and public figures. One of them, former Finance Minister and Trinamool leader Yashwant Sinha, told NDTV, "I am very happy with the decision of the Supreme Court. I hope that they will fulfill their duties and come to the right conclusion based on facts." Some say this is a setback to the centre, which will have no say in the appointments of the members of this committee, but that the government will not have to file an affidavit.
The centre, which avoided a debate in Parliament on the Pegasus controversy by calling it a non-serious issue and also refused to file an affidavit in the Supreme Court, will now finally have to give answers to a committee appointed by the top court. In New Delhi with camera person Sushil Rathi, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Moving to another very disturbing story. We've seen the reports coming out of Tamil Nadu where poor students, at least 3 suicides happened this year as they felt that they couldn't make NEET, and even a report by an ex-judge said that NEET was actually favouring rich students. Well, here's some proof, because today the CBI has busted an interstate scam where out of coaching centres, proxy candidates were given. That means other candidates actually gave the NEET exams, and those who could afford it paid for it and managed to clear the NEET exam.
This Nagpur coaching centre has been booked by the CBI for allegedly running a racket to ensure students made it to the NEET medical entrance exam. Proxy candidates have been arrested. The scam is in sharp contrast to the state of youngsters dying by suicide in Tamil Nadu. The CBI, acting on source-based information, registered a case on September 12th against RK Education Career Guidance along with its director Parival Kotpallivar for conspiring to manipulate the NEET exam that was to be held on the same day. The central agency accused Parimal Kotpallivar of soliciting the aspiring candidates by offering them admission in top government medical colleges. The FIR states that the parents of candidates were asked to deposit post-dated checks of up to 50 lakh rupees, as well as the original class 10 and 12 mark sheets of the candidates as security. This is how the scam worked. Modifications were made in the candidate data for getting desired examination centers. Copies of e-Aadhaar card of candidates were used for making forged ID cards. Photographs on the admit cards were morphed to allow proxy candidates to take the exam. The accused also assured candidates of providing answer keys and manipulating OMR sheets. Sources in CBI told NDTV that with prior information about this racket, the agency deployed officers in at least 5 centers, all in Nagpur, to catch the proxy candidates. Most didn't turn up at the centers.
With states like Tamil Nadu up against NEET calling it as social injustice, such cases expose loopholes in the centralized entrance exams. With Saurav Gupta, Sam Daniel and camera person Ashok Mahale, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
Moving now to a story which is extremely disturbing coming out of Maharashtra. Remember, there have been a series of crimes against women, but this one is particularly shocking. Here, a 15-year-old girl has complained to the police that she was gang raped by 29 young men over 9 months. Now, this included 2 people who are below 18, 2 boys who are under 18. What exactly happened? Saurabh has the horrific details. I mean, Saurabh and also get caught in the politics, but just what's happened here in Thane with a 15-year-old girl is just shocking.
Absolutely shocking details that have been revealed by the police just by manner of their preliminary investigation. Now, the police have said that the survivor was allegedly gang raped, she was blackmailed, and this happened by using some photographs or videos of her in an intimate position with someone she knew. So the police have said that most of the perpetrators of this horrific crime are allegedly people who were known to her, familiar to her. And that's, of course, the shocking part. Now, this happened from January all the way up to September. The police say they received a complaint last night and they acted immediately, and within 24 hours, they seem to have arrested a majority of the perpetrators. But beyond this shocking crime, there also seems to be some real ugly politics around crimes against women, with the Shiv Sena blaming the governor for selective concern over crimes here and saying that this is, of course, the governor's attempt to target and tarnish Maharashtra while conveniently ignoring crimes against other states or crimes against women in other states. Now, of course, this politics is unfortunate, and the government maintains that, well, the police are acting as soon as they can, whether it's the Sakinaka case, they arrested the culprit within hours, or even this case where they managed to arrest most of the culprits in less than 24 hours. But obviously, this is a shocking case. Here's what the police said on their investigations so far.
उसके कंप्लेंट के बाद तुरंत पुलिस स्टेशन में केस दर्ज हुई है। ये टोटल 29 लोगों के उस लड़की ने नाम बताए, उसमें से 23 लड़कों को हमने ताबे में लिया है, अरेस्ट किया है। इस इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए स्पेशल इन्वेस्टिगेशन टीम बनाई है। मैं और डीसीपी तो है, लेकिन ये महिला की केस होने के कारण और उसकी व्याप्ति देख के महिला एसीपी सोनाली ढोले इस केस का इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रही है।
29 young men arrested in this case. The main focus now needs to be rehabilitation and counseling for this young 15-year-old who gathered the courage after 9 months to go to the police. Meanwhile, let's just look at the latest COVID data. Well, it's at over 31,923 cases. That's gone up in the last 24 hours by nearly 18.39%. This coming as cases have gone up in Kerala and Maharashtra again. Deaths in the last 24 hours are 282. The daily positivity rate continues to be just over 2%. The vaccinations in the last 24 hours are 41 lakhs. So let's just look at the vaccinations. Remember, last Friday we had a record 2.5 crore vaccinations in one day, coinciding with the Prime Minister's birthday. But since then, though the doses have come down, they've averaged over 90 lakhs for the last 3 days, which is good. That's the highest so far. However, our asking rate for the target of all adults to be vaccinated continues to rise. So though we're going up to an average of 90 lakhs, we still need to do a lot more, but it's an encouraging trend. Meanwhile, today, a Delhi court was told that the Prime Minister's fund is a private fund. In the details of PM Cares today, which appeared in the High Court, it said that this was a charitable trust under the law. This was said by the Prime Minister's office, and they said that the trust fund is not a fund of the Government of India and its amount does not go into the consolidated fund of India. This was made by the government in response to a petition asking that PM Cares Fund be declared as the state under Article 12 of the Constitution. The plea contends that citizens of the country are aggrieved that a fund set up with the Prime Minister and with trustees like the Prime Minister and key ministers has been declared to be a fund over which there is no government control. Well, our special report on pollution, because this is something NDTV has really been focusing on, with the WHO announcing much tougher air quality standards. What does it mean for Indian cities? This actually now, with these new standards, our pollution levels are much higher than before.
This clean air and clear blue skies is as good as it gets in Delhi. It almost meets the World Health Organization's new air quality standards. But in a few weeks, these will almost certainly be brown, grey with filthy air. But before that, here is what the centre and the state governments are promising. With these images around the corner once again of farmers burning paddy stubble, for Amrita, with her son already on a nebulizer, numbers don't matter to her.
My niece, 3 years ago, was only 3 months old and she was put on the nebulizer. We had to rush her to the hospital in the middle of the night. And she's been since then on the nebulizer. Is it fair on the children?
You have to be careful and wear a mask all time. There is pollution.
Air pollution is a national public health emergency. Cosmetic measures like these smog towers is a colossal waste of public money.
The Union Environment Minister held this meeting with leaders and officials from Delhi, Haryana and Punjab.
आज की जो मीटिंग हुई वो काफी अच्छे माहौल में हुई और हमें उम्मीद है कि इसके अच्छे रिजल्ट्स आएंगे.
More harvesting machines are being provided to remove the stubble and need to burn it. The National Thermal Power Corporation will procure 20 million tons of this stubble, but it is not clear if that will happen in time for this year.
According to the sources in commission, in pole-bound state Punjab, farmers may burn more stubble than the last year to protest against farm laws.
But stubble burning is only one source of pollution. Vehicles and industries remain bigger ones. The government has announced that smog guns, air quality monitors and video cameras must be deployed at construction sites. But much of this relies on self-audits. Experts call for a much tougher action.
Come September, which is the beginning of pollution festival in India, if I may use that word, next 3-4 months, the entire media, everybody will be talking of pollution.
The World Health Organization's tougher new air quality standards mean that the average annual safe limit for the microscopic and very toxic PM2.5 pollutant is now 5 micrograms, down from 10. And for a day's average, it is just 15 micrograms. This means that for Delhi, the level is 17 times higher, Noida 19 times higher, and neighbouring cities like Ghaziabad 21 times. Incidentally, even Kolkata and Mumbai are 10 and 8 times more. Air pollution has been linked to over 3 premature deaths a minute in India, that is over 16 lakhs in a year. Authorities have been trying many methods, including desperate ones like this smog tower, criticized by scientists. The only solution, they say, is to cut down burning at source, be it coal, petrol or diesel, waste or biomass. With Xavier Thomas and Saurabh Shukla in Delhi, Shanakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.
Well, a quick look at other news. A strong snub by the Congress to ex-Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh, who had said that the Gandhi siblings are inexperienced and said that he would put up a strong candidate against Navjot Singh Sidhu. The Congress spokesperson said today that old people can get angry sometimes.
जब लोग बुजुर्ग होते हैं और थोड़े गुस्से में होते हैं तो बहुत सारी बातें कह देते हैं, उसको नजरअंदाज करना चाहिए. राजनीति में गुस्सा, द्वेष, ईर्ष्या और व्यक्तिगत बदले की भावना की कोई जगह है नहीं.
Meanwhile, the new Punjab Chief Minister finally went solo, but this time for Bhangra with dancers at a college event. Here he is. Let's take a look. Though, of course, after the Bhangra beats, he's going to have to do more complicated moves as he finalizes a new cabinet. He's flown into Delhi to meet the Congress High Command here. So the Congress High Command and the Chief Minister to take a decision on the new Punjab cabinet, which is likely to be announced by this weekend. And finally, well, 2 aces on a badminton court. Take a look at this video which Deepika Padukone put on Insta of her and Sindhu playing it off.